So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another session of Weathertex Wednesday. Today, we're going to be talking about Green Star Buildings version 1.1 rating tool and what it means for residential and multi-residential projects. And joining us today to discuss this subject is Katherine Featherstone. Catherine's a Senior Manager of Products and Materials at Green Building Council. Katherine, thank you for making time to join us on this really topical subject around in the marketplace at the moment.
No worries. Lovely to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Can we just start and briefly tell us about Green Building Council of Australia and the purpose of the Green Star Buildings rating tool?
Sure, yeah. So the Green Building Council of Australia, or GBCA, was founded in 2002 by some industry leaders who recognised the need for a unified and science-based approach to transforming Australia's built environment and driving the shift towards a more sustainable built environment. The primary goal of the organisation is to accelerate the transition to healthy, resilient, low carbon buildings, homes and communities using independent certification, robust standards and industry advocacy as key levers for change. I think as well, it's important to understand that we are a group of about 60 to 70 people. So it's not a massive organisation, but we also represent over 660 members. And we exist to bring industry, government, communities together, providing leadership and tools and partnership to lift that ambition for a more sustainable built environment.
Very good. Also, I forgot to mention for those in the audience, if you have any questions, please put them in the chat room and we'll go through them during the course of the next 30 minutes if you have any specific details that you would like to be covered off with Katherine. Katherine, leading on from that, how does the Green Star Buildings differ from other Green Star rating tools, and what gaps does it aim to fill in regards to sustainable building practices?
Yeah, great question. So first of all, Green Star itself is a suite of tools that rates anything from communities or precincts like airports or universities, right down to we're just completing the fit outs tool, which was the interiors tool. So the Green Star suite of tools has rated over 7,500 projects, and they span billions of square metres across Australia, and there's a couple of overseas projects as well. So in buildings, obviously it does what it says on the tin. It was launched in 2020 and replaced the old design and as-built tool, and it was designed to address challenges of our next decade. So all of the tools look forward to the next decade so that we're starting to bring the built environment together on a journey of what best practice looks like. So we're ensuring in that way that our buildings are future ready. This tool focuses on building a sustainable future and has credits that address responsible products, upfront carbon, nature, circularity, and I'll go through them in a little bit more detail as we go through the questions. But it really is focused much more on the impact of the building on the built environment.
Okay, I guess, and leading on to that, Katherine, if you had to narrow down the key updates for the Green Star Buildings version 1.1 and what drove these changes from your perspective?
Yeah, so the changes actually, it's really interesting to note that we work so closely with industry. We have a bunch of advisory groups ranging from the Green Star Advisory Board through to expert reference panels on a whole bunch of different subjects from circularity to sustainable fit outs, sustainable buildings. And then topic areas as well. So the changes have come from working closely with project teams, with consultants, and mean that we've got greater usability improvements within the tool. We've got more projects that can be recognised through this version of the tool through the addition of STEP credits. And it's also reflecting the regulatory changes that are coming through on carbon disclosure, on circular economy and on nature reporting through frameworks like TNFD, or Task Force for Nature-Related Financial Disclosures, and alignment with the NCC 2022, as well as the NABERS and its new embodied carbon tool. So the tool's also aligned with the Australian Sustainable Finance Taxonomy. All buildings under this new rating, the Green Star Buildings version 1.1, will be aligned to the climate mitigation new construction criteria within that taxonomy.
You mentioned the climate meditation and the climate action. Um, how is that? I mean, circularity and nature and sustainability considerations have been elevated in the latest version. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, absolutely. So
Mm.
version 1.1, nature has been brought forward and aligned with the new nature roadmap, which we've put out recently and has been worked on as well for release, a newer version. So there's a pathway from 2028, which will enhance biodiversity and assist project teams and corporates with reporting on nature-related metrics. So people like developers, it'll help align with those reporting frameworks. The climate positive pathway in this version of the tool reflects some of the progress that's been made with electrification. So all electric buildings are now a minimum expectation, whereas we used to phase gas out. Now gas will not be allowed as part of a standard buildings rating. And then there's also new design for circularity credit. So with the circular economy growing from strength to strength, the circular design for circularity credit awards circular material use, adaptability, and reuse as well.
Okay. And the pathway to 2028, is there anything you can pass on to the audience around that leading to 2028?
So, so it's an interesting. So that's in 2028. That's when it will kick off.
Yep.
But the pathway itself is aligned with the Kunming Montreal Protocol, which was a global biodiversity framework, as well as that task force for nature-related financial disclosures framework that I mentioned. They both seek to halt and reverse nature loss. And there are key milestones in there from 2030 and 2050. Um, and what it means is that we've got this idea now that instead of just doing minimal harm or doing no harm, we're reversing that and we're putting in a positive, nature positive pathways through this tool, and then it will come through all of the other tools as well, which will start to look at how we replace and enhance biodiversity in the areas in which we operate.
Yeah, it's fantastic. If you're a design and construction team sitting out there and in our audience today, um, trying to tackle sustainability goals, what from your perspective, what would be the most impactful elements of the tool for those type of people?
So I'm going to be biased because obviously I work a lot in the products sector. So I think that the responsible products credits has certainly really taken off recently. There's a lot of talk about those credits. So I think that that's a great pathway through the tool. But also, I think that looking at that nature positivity, looking at upfront carbon disclosure, is there's a few pathways through. So the tool addresses upfront carbon reduction. So that's the carbon that exists within products and materials within the buildings that locked in carbon before we've even opened the door of the building.
Yeah.
They can't be abated through renewables or energy efficiency measures in the operations of the building. So the tool aligns with NABERS methodology, and it has so NABERS being the National Building Energy Rating Scheme. And there are benchmarks through it as well, through the through the tool for Class 2 apartments, for Class 5 commercial, Class 7B or 8 industrial, and then reference building pathways for all buildings. There's another pathway for NABERS, so specifically using those benchmarks that exist in the NABERS embodied carbon tool. And we also consider refrigerants in this version of the tool. So how the impact of embodied carbon of refrigerants on the paper, and there are 3 credits that deal with refrigerants. I've mentioned the nature positive pathway, and then additionally there's the circularity pathway, which I think is really valuable to note. Again, a part of my day-to-day role, but we know that we're currently using resources 1.75 times faster than the Earth can regenerate them, and that's about 40 to 50% of all raw materials are used in the built environment. So it's really, really vital that we're trying to look at materials that are less impactful, that have less impact on nature, but also start to regenerate or can be regenerated, can be reused and adaptable and are really set for a circular future.
Yeah. You mentioned your roles focused on products, and you mentioned product credits. Can you provide any deeper details on it?
Yeah.
Obviously, products that have a better than zero carbon footprint or of that nature receives greater credits.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to. So within the building version 1.1 tool, the credits stay the same. So, and that was introduced just a couple of years ago in version 1. But there are 4 responsible products credits. There's responsible structure, envelope, systems, and finishes. So what that means is that products for each of those 4 credits are compared like for like. So you're not comparing air conditioning with Weathertex cladding, for example. Each of those then is what we do as the GBCA is we have a framework or a set of guidelines which is available on our website called the Responsible Products Guidelines. We're currently we're in consultation. We've just come back from consultation for version B. We are currently, we've got 4 key focus areas at the moment, which are responsible, healthy, positive, and circular. So responsible, looking at the ethics of how ethical a product is, or how an initiative measures how ethical a product is. Positive looks at how the energy and water usage of a product. Healthy looks at things like modern slavery and health impacts of a product, health product disclosures, and circular obviously is the circularity of a product. But as we're going forward, it looks like we'll also have nature in that as well, which is reflected in the tools, and we'll also be introducing, it looks like, another people category too, which calls up some of those some of the diversity, equity issues in the workforce as well and in the supply chain. So how they work is that, as I said, each of those credits, products that are specified for a Green Star project can, if they've been recognised or certified by an initiative that is recognised by the GBCA, and there's a list of those in the Responsible Product Score Checker, then they can be included for the credits to help receive good practice or best practice for each of those credits. So as your products, it's really important that products are third-party certified so that we're ensuring that there's no greenwashing, to ensure that claims are validated and that the consumers that are using them can take great faith that that the claims are being met and made in line with ACCC's greenwashing claims guidelines as well.
Yeah, very valid points. And I guess from a WeatherTex perspective, for the audience, WeatherTex has a better than zero carbon footprint. So there's a whole heap of information on weathertex.com.au for those who want to explore that deeper. Katherine, how does Green Star and yourself play the role that you play in driving performance beyond compliance?
So our role is we start with we've got a 6-star system. So 6 stars is world, 6-star Green Star is world leadership, and then 4 stars represents best practice, good practice. So even that at the 4-star Green Star is always going to be above minimum performance levels. So sorry, minimum compliance levels. So for example, in residential and multi-res projects, there's an apartments pathway through the tool which will help assist with not only meeting but exceeding those regulations and best practice worldwide, and that it is through those different categories and credits, such as nature, such as healthy, livable spaces, energy efficiency, and being off gas.
Thank you. Katherine, there's a question from Belinda Stewart. Additional to the minimum NatHERS star rating, can you certify a Class 1 building with the Green Star rating tool?
Yes, so there is a homes tool for there is a homes tool for buildings for homes. Absolutely. So Green Star Homes, if you want any more information, either have a look at our website or you feel free to contact me. I'll put my email address on the website.
Sure. I hope that answers your question, Belinda. I guess moving forward, for what particular aspects of the Green Star buildings that specify should prioritise in multi-uni residential developments from everything you've mentioned?
So I think it's important to look project by project, and certainly in my background, I used to work at a developer who did develop multi-res projects.
Yep.
It is always going to be what works for the client and what is important case by case. I think that understanding where the strategy of the client or customer is. So if there is a strategy around carbon emissions reductions, that's a really great one that is really well supported through the tool. I think that obviously the products credits are really interesting to look at, because not only do they really reflect back to the customer the interest in choosing, selecting, and specifying, and installing good products that aren't just cheap and easy to install, just cheap to install, cheaper to install, but actually have better impacts on people and on place and planet. So they're the ones that I would suggest focusing on, I guess. But I think that it does make sense to go through the tool, to look at the pathways, and to really understand whether you want to get a 4, 5, or 6-star Green Star rating. Noting again that 4-star Green Star is still really a very, very great initiative, and is something that you should target as well. A lot of people wanted to try to get to 6 stars. It can be more time, take a little bit more time, take a little bit more cost. I think a 4-star Green Star is a really great outcome.
Yeah, very good point. For everyone on the audience, Vanda's has put the link to the GBCA website about the rating system, so you've got that in the chat box there for everyone online. Katherine, you talked about greenwashing before in one of our questions. Product transparency is very important. What types of product transparency or documentation are typically required?
So that's a great question. The kinds of transparency and documentation we're seeing are for certification, for third-party certification. So anything from like a GECA certificate through to an environmental product declaration of an EPD. We're seeing more and more that things like product carbon footprints are starting to come into play. I think it's really important to know where they will fit in. In fact, in a couple of weeks, we have our own conference at the GBCA, so Transform will be on. If anyone would like to attend, tickets are available. And I'll be having a conversation there with Esther Bailey from Rebuilt about product carbon footprints and their role in this space. The value of that of a disclosure of a certificate is that we start to get a better understanding of what it is that we're buying. We get better traceability back to the supply chain and back to the start with a lot of the certificates that we're looking at, and we're just better able. We just feel more comfortable and confident with what claims we are making to our own customers, because there is someone else who's taken that validation on for us. So, I mean, certainly for Green Star, there isn't a responsible product that hasn't been through that process.
Are you seeing a greater demand from developers moving forward for third-party certifications or verified environmental claims?
Look, I think what it comes through from, so certainly for us, the responsible products credits are ones that are now being targeted more and more. I think it's still difficult. It is becoming less difficult to find products that are within the responsible products database or that have been checked. But we've got over 10,000 products that are available on that database at the moment. So when we look at different products and different databases that are available in this space, um, having that verification is more important to a developer because they're able to see what where their money has gone and verify the claims that have been made. So if they're saying to their customers that this product, is performing better than zero, as a carbon positive product,
Yeah,
like Weathertex, for example, those claims can be backed up if anything should
sure.
go wrong. And we know as well that the ACCC's guidelines are getting stronger. We know that there's more reporting frameworks out there for these claims that start to monitor
Mm.
and look at things like nature-based impacts as well. So that Economy Montreal protocol and the TNFD, they start looking at the impacts of the supply chain as well, and not just the site. And that's where this validation, these verifications
Yeah,
come to play.
I think it's quite positive, isn't it? I know a number of, from an ACCC perspective and WeatherTech's perspective, they're focused on the words and how you actually put the words in your statements and your third party certifications and what you're promoting as a supplier or a manufacturer, which is eliminating a lot of the greenwashing, isn't it?
It's so important
Mm,
because
mm,
we do find that there are some products out there that will say that they're nature positive, for
yeah,
example,
yeah,
and actually it's very hard to quantify what that means. So
yes,
so what those guidelines, the ACCC's guidelines, has helped all of us to do
mm,
is really ensure that the claims that we make are responsible and reliable and clear.
yeah, absolutely. And then in closing, Catherine, you mentioned, heading towards 2028 and beyond. I mean, this subject's gathering a lot of momentum very quickly. Well, it's happened for a period of time, but it's gathering more momentum. Where do you see the evolution of Green Star buildings heading in the next 3 to 5 years and beyond?
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. So our members have told us that data centers are an issue of great interest to them
Yes.
at the moment. So then it's an issue for us as well. So we've asked, and that's interesting for someone like the Green Building Council of Australia, because a data center is just another building, and it's the actual operation of the building and what happens in that building of the tenant that becomes more of the issue. So we
Yeah.
can make a very, very good sustainable building. But data centers, as we know, utilize a lot of energy and a lot of water.
Yeah.
And we don't have traditionally a lot of control. So it's going to be quite challenging for us to see how we can start to impact in that space. But we've already started asking how we can meet those resource demands, for example, ensuring a sustainability and resilience and more responsible growth. Um, Also, I'd say that continuous improvement in energy efficiency is really vital for all Australian buildings. Um, and we know that resilience part is also really, really imperative. So Green Star buildings will continue to look at these things like mitigating climate change. So trying to ensure that we are reducing our own impact while adapting to climate change as it comes down the pipeline, which we're obviously already seeing. I mean, I'm here in Canberra, and we've had 4 days of solid rain, which is unheard of for us. So,
Happy days.
yeah. Mm.
There's one question that just come in, Catherine, from Carol. Is the responsible product database available to professional or public? If so, where can it be sourced?
Yep. So on our website, there is if you go to Green Star, there you can go on the Green Star resources. You can sign up for a demo project. I don't think that's going to be available for very much longer. We're just doing some changes to the technical side of things. But go online into the Green Star resources section, sign up for a demo project, and you can access that through there.
Thank
This
you.
Green Star responsible product score checker to be able to understand what different initiatives score through, what what responsible product value they score through the program is also available, and that's freely available on our website. What I would say as well to everyone here, because I know that this is a really common misconception, is that if you're looking for products with a responsible product value, or initiatives with a responsible product value, just make sure you understand for which credit in which tool you're aiming for, because once you hit that maximum of best practice score, so for example, in the buildings tool, it's 15. Once you've hit an RPV of 15, you're not going to get any more benefit from an RPV of 18 or 30 or 73, which I don't think it actually exists. But peak at 15, hold it there, and then spend your money elsewhere, because otherwise you're starting to lose the goal of things.
Great, good information. One more from Jared. NatHa's star rating in his eyes is a design star rating. What is to say / verify / certify that the final build has met the design star rating, and then how would that impact the green star rating score?
So NATAS is the National Housing Energy Rating Scheme. So NABERS is the Building Energy Rating Scheme for commercial buildings. National is for housing. Sorry, NATAS is the Housing Energy Rating Scheme. And that design rating is basically anything from, 10 star, a 10-star NATAS building would basically be a concrete block with no windows. It would be completely sealed, so that you're thinking passive, very, very passive homes, very, very energy efficient homes that aren't losing a lot of energy. What is to say that the final build has met the design star rating, and then how would that, so that's done through modelling in NATAS. They do a modelling to understand the orientation of the building, what the materials are, whether there are trees that overshadow and provide cooling and shade. So there's a whole bunch of things that go into those models. For Green Star, a Green Star rating is not modelled in the same way. It is not just an energy efficiency rating. It is a lot more. It has to do more holistically with health and well-being. We look at the people category. We look at nature, circularity. There's a whole bunch of other elements that go into the buildings tool. The homes tool is slightly different. Generally, also for NATAS, for an apartment, for example, again, this is casting my mind back a few years when I worked for a developer, the NATAS rating would differ from apartment to apartment in an apartment building based on its orientation, whereas a Green Star rating is really just based on the certified build and what's gone into that, and the actual invoices as well. That's really important to say, is that they're certified with the responsible products credits. We're receiving the invoices from the project to ensure that there are no substitutions taken place.
Thank you. One other, is there a training course for Green Star to be an accredited rater?
So you can be a Green Star accredited professional, which means that you can submit and fulfill some of the credits within Green Star, but you can be a Green Star assessor. You can apply to be a Green Star assessor, but you have to have had some work for Green Star, worked on Green Star projects before. Belinda, I will send you my email address, and you can ask me all the questions you want. I just know we're coming to time.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Katherine, a really interesting subject, and I've learned something just listening to you. Your passion for this is amazing, and it's very insightful, the information that you've got and what Green Building Council's doing for the industry and evolving what we've talked about today. So thank you very much for your time. We appreciate all the website and everything for the audience has been on the links. And if you need any further information, then Katherine's happy to ask and answer any further questions. For the audience today, it's one CPD informal certificate, and we'll send that to you via email. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Katherine, thank you for making time to talk about this subject. We appreciate it.
Such a pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks everyone.
Bye-bye.